Joining me now is the former Republican Congressman Fred Upton of Michigan. Congressman, good to see you. Thank you for being with us this morning. And I was careful to say not all Republicans want to have that sort of result. A lot of Republicans would like the government to spend less money or make sure it spends no more than it takes in. That's a different discussion than not raising the debt ceiling and understanding the consequences of that.
Well, you have to raise the debt ceiling. You're not going to balance the budget overnight. It took us a long time to get here. You know, thinking about your show this morning, last 50 years, I think we've had a balanced budget maybe 2 or 3 times. That was under Newt Gingrich back in the 90s. And, of course, back then we had a majority leader was a guy by the name of Dick Armey. And even though we had a balanced budget, actually a surplus, he wanted to use the surplus to reduce taxes, not pay down the debt. I was among those that wanted to actually begin to pay down the debt. It's a lot like your credit card. But at the end of the day, even though Yellen came up with what I would call a little bit of a surprise announcement, next Thursday is the day. Now, you got to remember quarterly payments are due on Tuesday. There's going to be a pretty big infusion of cash, I think, that'll come in. So this is a warning. But at the end of the day, we're going to have to deal with this. And she's got a number of different levers that she can maneuver to actually forestall that cliff for a number of months. But at the end of the day, we got to deal with this. We got to extend the debt ceiling. All the time you see different sides look for something to come along with it. The issue that Kevin McCarthy is going to have now as Speaker is, if you thought last week was hard, it's going to be easy as to what's going to happen as to we not only do the debt ceiling, but also actually try to pass a budget in the House and get to the end of the fiscal year and get the appropriation bills done without a shutdown. That's going to be the really hard work that has to happen.
Yeah, you used the word cliff. That is probably going to show up almost in June because, as you said, Treasury Secretary Yellen can manipulate things, move things around a little bit, borrow some money here and use it there. But by June, there will be no more options. Something will be missed. Some payment will be missed. And some people think that as long as you pay the bondholders, you're good. But actually, it's the U.S. government. If the U.S. government misses a payment to anybody, whether it's Social Security or bondholders or air traffic controllers, it's the same problem.
That's right. Or prison guards or the FBI or you name wherever that those checks go out. At some point, you hit that ceiling, and just like your MasterCard or Visa card would say, you've overextended. You forget about filling up that gas tank or whatever it is. We will hit that ceiling without some issue, some law being passed that the president can sign.
Fred, I've been looking to talk to you for a couple of weeks. I'm sure you know this. People were talking about you as possibly becoming Speaker of the House, right? When they couldn't come to some agreement, they said, who's a person who Republicans might agree with or might be able to get even some Democratic support in becoming Speaker of the House? And your name came up as a possibility. Tell me why and tell me how that played out for you.
Well, Don Bacon's a good friend. I think he's coming up next. And I drove through his state a couple weeks ago. You know, I hope nobody went to Vegas. I hope nobody bet the ranch that this was going to happen. You know, as you know, and your listeners, I think many of them know, you don't necessarily have to be a sitting member of Congress to be Speaker. But we knew that we're going to go through this tough time for Kevin. I was a Kevin supporter. I've known him well for a long time. So is Don Bacon. I'm what you would call a governing Republican to get things done. And at some point, if things had collapsed, Don Bacon, and maybe a word of frustration, and you'll talk to him next, said, well, how about Fred Upton? I'm going to propose that. And it took me a little bit by surprise, but it was, it was not going to happen.
All right.
It was, but we do have to govern. I mean, that's the point.
So tell me how that goes, because there are, we think, 20 members of the House who are recalcitrant. We think that there are at least 18 Republicans who won in districts where Joe Biden won, and then there are several more Republicans who were in closer competitive races. And then there's this, I don't know what you want to call it, but there's a bit of a chaos caucus in the Republican Party. We're not sure what they're driven by, whether it's political self-preservation or deep ideology. Something's going on that is not going to be about governing, as you just described. So what does that look like to you? If we get to this debt ceiling issue, for instance, they only need to be 6 of them. Are there 6 Republicans who might say, we're Republicans, we don't want to be Democrats, but we may have to vote with the Democrats on this one?
Well, a couple of things. Look at the last Congress. Pelosi had, in essence, the same margin now that Kevin McCarthy does. And a number of times, whether it be passing the CHIPS legislation, whether it be passing the bipartisan infrastructure bill, whether avoiding a shutdown, frankly, a day or two before Christmas this last year, there were a number of Republicans that said, "Hey, we got to prevent chaos from happening. We need to govern and we need to move forward." And we'll see how the dynamics work in this next Congress. Again, Kevin right now has 222, but I would imagine, one of the things that I think you could go to Vegas on is I don't think Santos is going to be a congressman a few months from now, at least on the House floor and voting. So Kevin's margin, that's a Democratic seat. Yeah. So instead of 222, you have 221, and you're going to have another special election come in this next month with a Democrat being reelected there, or elected for the first time to take McEachin's place. Yep. So that margin gets ever so smaller. And at the end of the day, whether it's passing a rules package, getting bills to the House floor with what I would call fair amendments that are germane to a bill, and figuring out this debt crisis, how are you going to pass a budget? Remember, a budget doesn't actually have to be signed into law by the president. It's just sort of a roadmap for the appropriators to follow. But there are going to be some really tough issues coming ahead. And, to get something to the president's desk, there's plenty of issues we got to be dealing with. Immigration, of course, is at the top of the list. You've got inflation, you've got energy issues. All those things. I think there is a sweet spot, which was why I was for the Problem Solvers Caucus to actually get things done.
Well, I hope you're right. And you said I'm going to be talking to Don Bacon in the next hour. So I hope it turns out to be right. I'm glad to have you here. Thank you for joining us again. Former Republican Congressman Fred Upton of Michigan, who for a hot second some people thought might be the Speaker of the House. We'll talk to you again, Fred. Yeah. Thank you.